Hi everyone, today I'm meeting one of the smartest people I know, a good friend, and honestly someone who lives and breathes marketing, which I personally think can often be an overlooked area of business. You may know him as the Executive Vice President of Global Marketing at Sportradar, Adam Azor. We're gonna take a little walk around vibrant Shoreditch here in London and talk about his career from the early days to leading marketing at one of the gaming industry's biggest global suppliers. We also, of course, going to discuss all things marketing, leadership, AI, and along the way, you may find out a few fun facts about him. Let's go find Adam. Hello.
Hey Mariya, how's it going?
How are we doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming to meet me.
You're very welcome. Well, it's very rare we get such a nice sunny London day, so we may as well take advantage of it.
Exactly, might as well enjoy it and do our little Mariya meets conversation outside.
Why not?
Right, because I don't want to take all of your day. Let's get straight into it, and let's start at the beginning. Where did your career start? What drew you into marketing, and how did that journey lead you to where you are today?
All right, so funny story. When I
I like that. So we're
going to start with a funny story. So before the era of pop idol and reality TV, it wasn't quite as sexy, but there was a TV show called Hot Pursuits. And this was designed for students to apply, say which career they wanted to work in and why, and they would select you and then send you off to do work experience and then film it. So a very young Adam, I think I must have been about 15 years old, went in and applied to be working PR. So at the time, this is a story I don't often tell, but I think my pitch was, at the time, I want to be the new Max Clifford. Nowadays, I don't say that because the connotations aren't exactly the same as when I was a youngster. But I ended up getting selected, and I went to work at a PR agency called Conan Wolf. And I was working on Coca-Cola, I was working on the video launch of Saving Private Ryan, and that was my first chance to work in an agency, work in PR, and that really gave me the taste for it. And then I went on and studied PR, and set up, actually at the same time when I was working, we were running a sort of promotions events company called Incognito, which also I was sort of studying, working on my dissertation around that, and that kind of gave me the taste. And then post-uni into London, started in agency land. So had the pleasure to work on brands like Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Molson Coors, Diageo, lots of different categories in agency. And I did that for the best part of 2 decades. And then eventually there was the opportunity to go client side at Sportradar.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's a big change actually.
It was.
Where you started from agency,
Poacher turned gamekeeper is usually the phrase when you go from agency to client side.
Okay, I actually didn't know that you started working in an agency. That was a very fun story, as you said. So I'm glad I learned it. If I remember correctly, you joined Sportradar. Was it the same year that the company went public?
No, it was a few years before then, yeah. I joined in 2018.
Okay. So when you joined, the company wasn't public, then you have to go through this, what I'm going to imagine is a massive change. How was that period? How did your job change when all of a sudden you start working for a public listed company?
Well, look, the core fundamentals don't change. I mean, the biggest really growth of Sportradar is really over the years from 2018 until pretty much to now is the real transformation and change of scale of Sportradar. But if you actually break it down, we are doing what we've always done, which is create products and technology which are creating value for clients and partners. And regardless of being public or private, that philosophy, that mission, that's still the same. Yeah. There is some practical things when you're a public company. There's things you didn't have to do when you're private, such as quarterly earnings and things like capital market days, investor engagement. So that's an extra component. But actually, when you think about the core running of the organisation, we are the same business. Yeah. We've been going through some amazing growth during that period. But working on the IPO, and also working during COVID as well. I don't forget. So we IPO'd in 2021. And that was a heck of an experience, just even logistics around it, because it was still a time trying to get into the US was banned, and we had to work around that. But yeah, an amazing experience. And yeah, it was a real, obviously, watershed moment for Sportradar and our growth.
So when you joined Sportradar, you were an executive vice president, you earned that title, you build your way up. So my question is, and I asked the same thing Mickey from KPMG, because she also works for a massive company, how do you get noticed in a big company, and how do you build your way up in a big company? Clearly it's doable because you've done it.
So when I joined as director of product marketing, and after about, I think it was about 6 months, we had a bit of a change of structure, and that's when I became co-lead of marketing, which at the time was marketing and comms combined. So another person's my kind of partner at Sportradar, Sandra Lee, who's EVP Global Comms, and we joined very similar times, and we were very much a change of how marketing and comms had been done. And I think both of us, as we were kind of setting up marketing on new areas, I think what we did, which was different, and I can certainly say this from a marketing perspective, is we really embedded into the actual business properly. So Sportradar is a very broad company, lots of audiences, lots of vertical, lots of different products, really understanding the products we actually sell, the products we create, the needs of our clients and customers. That was something that we really spent time on, and then building those relationships with the different business areas. I think taking that time to build relationships, understand and build knowledge, and I wasn't from this industry historically, I've worked in sport, but not anywhere in sort of the betting and gaming world. So usually just understanding the dynamics, the complexities, the nuances. And I always say, someone who's never worked in the betting and gaming industry before, the best analogy I always say is think about 2 + 2 = 5. And that's because there is a hidden one in the calculation, because if you think you can just adapt for what you've worked in other industries and sectors, you will fail. Yeah, and it is a nuance, and there's some things around it. So that's really how we kind of build a relationship. And then obviously you just got to do good work, right? The most important thing is you can have the best relationships in the world, have the great attitude, but ultimately you have to do good work, right? Yeah. And that's one of the things that of marketing, what I really focused on first was about having a measurement framework in place, which hadn't really been done before, but actually having accountability on what marketing is contributing, how we're delivering, and what the economics built around that. And for me, that is a really important foundation, because if you want to build a team, you want to do good work, you want to grow as a marketing function, you need to have your measurement sorted first. So that's always the thing which I always recommend to do first, anyone who's coming into a new position on a marketing side anyway.
I totally agree. And I think another thing that probably, I would imagine, really helped you build up your career at Sportradar is you really embraced that role. When you joined the company, you learned the products, all the products, so well. And I think that's a very important thing that people these days, young executives or any executive, they need to really embrace the company they're joining and really understand what the company offers. And I think you've managed that so well. At the moment, you lead a relatively large team, and you've got people across different countries as well. What are the best parts and what are the most challenging parts about being in a leadership role? How do you manage?
The best parts, I would say, is having the pleasure and the privilege to lead a team, especially in different geographies and different cultures and different areas. And there is a real difference in the different markets we operate in, as in the go-to-market, the channel, the type of marketing you do that is effective. Thankfully, this was something which I'd had experience of before, so it wasn't my first rodeo when it comes to international marketing. But it is a privilege in regards to leading and motivating a team. And I think what I'm very lucky about at Sportradar is over the years I've built a very strong marketing leadership. So underneath me, I have a phenomenal leader of events, a phenomenal product marketing leader, digital marketing, operations, and we've got some real leaders in the different regions, like in the US. So having a structured team and having a good dynamic is really, that's the real pleasure of building that function around it.
And I guess having trust, you trust that the people will do their job.
Yeah, you have to have trust. It's And I'm lucky some of the people that have come working at Sportradar are people I've worked previously as well. So,
amazing.
Which is also great, bringing that continuity. But equally, there's people at Sportradar who've been there the whole time that I've been there as well, that are already there and have really grown and developed. And we've had some amazing new talent join. So that's really the highlight and the pleasure and the privilege area of it. I think that the challenge with anything is, ultimately there is a lot going on. And, it's how do you allocate time? How do you know when you have so many opportunities, the ones to focus on? And, that is the hardest challenge of leading a global organisation in terms of marketing organisation, is being able to put the time and effort into the right places when everyone is looking for support in areas around it.
And as you say, there's a lot going on, especially your company. You guys offer so many products and services, and across more than just betting. You work with sports teams, leagues, federations, media. From a marketing perspective, how do you even begin to explain to the world what you guys do? I've always found that fascinating. How do you summarize what you guys do?
So there's two aspects to it. And the first thing, which is really important to say, is you can't communicate, market, everything.
Everything, yeah.
It's just too much. It's not possible. So in that areas, there's a strategy that we like to use called hot housing. And what that basically means is you either go where you're hot or where you're not. So what that means in terms of a marketing on a product level, we really focus on the products that are hot, i.e. growth products, where we have a great opportunity in terms of market penetration to still grow. That's also not in just mature markets, but also in emerging markets. And then the other parts of the hot housing is the places where you're not hot, right? Where's the opportunity? And that's where you need to really cherry pick what's the right product for the right opportunity, which is either a region or a particular growth strategy. So that's the way that we kind of segment and really focus on what products and services that we really dedicate our marketing efforts to. And then on a company level, yes, you take all of those component parts, all the different verticals, and ultimately what you look for is a universal truth, right? And that's when you build a proposition that brings it all together. And the good thing is while there is real breadth and depth across our product portfolio in the different industries, there is a universal truth that whether you're a sports team, a league, a federation, an operator, ultimately you are still a business. And that business is either having challenges that technology can solve, or we can create value for them to grow their organizations and their businesses. So, those universal truths, regardless of the audience and the category, that's a great way to really look at it.
Talk a bit more about marketing in general. To me, it feels like one of those jobs where you constantly have to learn, because there's new tools you can use, there's new channels, things change all the time. Just look at LinkedIn even, it used to be a website where you just go and look for a job and you build your online CV. Now it's a very big marketing tool for B2B. You can create a newsletter, you as a person, your company page can have a newsletter. There's just constantly something new. How do you stay on top of everything when it comes to marketing, and where do you get your updates?
Well, firstly, if you think about marketing, ultimately there's three components to really think about. One, it's people, right? The audience. Who are you marketing to? How are they changing, and what's different about them? And that's, we break it into, age group demographics like millennial or Gen Z or boomers, and there are nuances around that, but audiences themselves and people themselves is one aspect around it. Then linked to that is around culture. So with marketing, culture is so important, right? The macroeconomics, the political situation, the cultural relevance of the moment. Marketing generally is playing on culture within good marketing in some capacity, in various degrees. And then the third area is what you really talked about is the channels. And that's really, over the last 20, 25 years, that's been the biggest change. So when I very first started out, it was just as digital was disrupting. So, there was still direct marketing and print advertising and outdoor and TV were very much still the predominant channels. But, very quickly, digital marketing and programming programmatic marketing really changed that area, changed the structure, changed the jobs, changed the whole philosophy of marketing, moving from, there's a very famous quote in marketing, which is, half of the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The problem is I don't know which half, right? And a lot of marketers grew up with that quote. And then as digital marketing changed and performance rose, that changed the ability to actually track performance and accountability of marketing. But the real, I would say, big game changer was not so much the digital revolution, or it's the enabler, it was social media. So really, with the rise of, I guess initially like MySpace, but really it was Facebook, that really changed the whole landscape, and really aggressively, because it wasn't just about another channel, it was more of an interactivity of how people were behaving in social between each other, and the ability and role of brands to go within that. So that was a really big disruption into marketing, and going back to your point is, when things are changing so much, how do you stay advantage of it? My point is, you need to have a macro view of the industry, and thankfully there's a lot of good trade publications and networking groups that you can be a part of when it comes to marketing. But my advice is also, when you work in a particular area, you should really try and make sure you're staying about that. So for me, within Sportradar, I'm looking at sport. I'm looking at sport marketing. I'm looking at the B2B channels. I'm looking at the environment we're working on. I'm looking at really what do I need to know and take advantage of it. And look, I've talked about that change and the audience change. We are on the precipice of a real big impact on marketing with AI, and it's probably, I talked about how big the change of social media was. I think AI is, big change. Well, and it's going to dwarf the impact of social media in a way that marketing has never really experienced before.
Yeah. And again, on the marketing topic, B2B marketing is often considered less exciting than B2C. Do you agree with that? Do you think B2B marketing's changed? What makes good B2B marketing in your professional experience? So
look, B2B marketing is definitely not as sexy as consumer marketing. And I can say that is unfortunately the case. There maybe is a few exceptions around it, but the thing about consumer marketing, and I spent majority of my career in consumer marketing, it's a very different kettle of fish depending on what you are marketing to, right? So I worked at Coca-Cola, for example, and having a international campaign on hundreds of millions of cans of Coke and big celebrities, you can't escape it, right? Yeah. It's really having a big cultural impact. And also when you're doing marketing, you can see the impact pretty quickly in certain categories. In B2B marketing, what you generally find is the difference of customer journeys. It's a lot longer customer journey. I mean, it's more closer to buying a car. Right, if you think about how you would buy a car, the research you go through, the looking at the videos, the test drive, the whole of the different times, the journey, that's more similar to higher value B2B marketing, right? That's the closest analogy around it. The second point is the role of emotion, and that's one of the big changes between B2C marketing and B2B marketing is, I would make someone feel a certain way when they purchase something in consumer marketing to make them buy it and to justify the price point. So if I'm working on a fashion label, I'm going to build that brand. So I'm going to spend £100 on the t-shirt, even though one very similar may cost £10. Why? Because they'll feel a certain way when they purchase it, when they wear it. It's the power of emotion, and not just on high value purchases. It's when you buy into a brand, you're buying into the brand, the emotion that's generally created around it. B2B, it's very different because you're not necessarily buying for you as an individual, you're buying for your company. Now there is still emotion, but generally that emotion is fear, right? Fear of making the wrong decision because it's going to harm your career and your growth. So, understanding the role of emotion, understanding the customer journey, and then thinking about all the channels on that journey and how Sportradar are marketing to it, that's really the crux of where B2B marketing is predominantly different. And look, there's a real difference in B2B. You hear every agency that pitches you will say Salesforce is doing this and that. Yeah, of course they are, but they're a company that has 300 million customers. They can sell to every business on the planet. If you're talking about a company like Sportradar, we have a way smaller target audience. So there's a big difference in B2B whether you're a product which is sold to everyone or a large number, or you're really niche, really focused, and then that really informs the type of marketing you actually look to do.
I think also in B2B, what's changed for me is what companies, including Sportradar, have started doing is focus a lot on experiences as well. I'm going to bring up the example of your stand at ICE last year, where you built a basketball court. I think that was amazing. For me, that had a bit of a B2C marketing feel, but it just worked.
Yeah.
For you guys.
No, it did. And I think that the learning around that wasn't so much, it was like we didn't want it to do something experiential or do something more consumer. It's actually going back to the heart of solving a challenge, right? The whole reason we did that is it's very difficult for us to demonstrate our technology in the real world to someone.
Yeah.
Because most of our technology is code and behind the scenes. So when we wanted to showcase our computer vision technology and the impact that's having, it was bold, but we said, right, well, we've got to show the sport happening to then demonstrate the technology in situ. And that's why we did that. We were able to put the live basketball matches happening, and we had the technology running, and we were showing in real time the power of computer vision, how we're collecting deep data, how that's generating predictive modeling and driving augmented streaming around it. And yes, I think that the crux of that, it was successful and it was experiential. Actually won our first ever marketing awards at Sportradar, which is something we're really proud of and being recognised around that. But the most important thing for me is it actually solved the challenge, what we're trying to do, which is how we demonstrate our technology.
It absolutely did. It made an impact. I remember it 2 years later. So congrats on that particular campaign. Are there any companies, brands, whether it's in gaming or outside of it, that you personally really admire and look up to when it comes to their marketing, storytelling, brand identity?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to consumer marketing, I think Coca-Cola for me is still the gold standard. I was lucky enough to work on Coke for a few years and in different campaigns and brands within it. And as an organisation that's set up for marketing and appreciation of it, they are second to none.
Yeah.
They have this amazing model when it comes to budget, which is actually allowing all this amazing work they do, which is they have a 70-20-10 model where 70% of what they spend is on standard things that are proven to return. 20% is a little bit more experimental, new channels and media, and 10% is a complete experimentation.
Oh, wow.
And obviously when you have a huge budget, that allows you to do really interesting work. But in terms of building culture, shaping culture over decades, I think Coca-Cola is the gold standard consumer brands. And I've talked about them earlier on. When you think about B2B, and it's hard to ignore Salesforce. I think as a brand, yes, they have a huge addressable audience, and they have to do more above the line mass type of marketing. But the way that they've actually built and story told the product, which ultimately is just a CRM product, but actually almost built a cult around the use of the Salesforce, is a very impressive thing, which they really dominate. And in terms of B2B content marketing, they really are at the top of the game. So yeah, two brands I think are really gold standard in both of the categories.
I agree. And with Salesforce, the interesting thing is that I think even people that don't use Salesforce know what Salesforce is.
Yeah,
so they've really done their job right there. Right, I have to talk about the elephant in any room, which is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
You work for a company that uses AI, knows how to leverage it quite well. What excites you about AI? What concerns you? And the question everybody's asking, is it going to take our jobs?
There's a wonderful quote, which isn't mine, but it's like, AI is not going to come for your job, but if you're unable to use AI, someone who can will take your job, which I think is very true, actually.
Absolutely.
Look, what scares me about AI, I mean, I've just read the book, If Anyone Builds It, We All Die. That was a little bit of doomsaying, to say the least. But I mean, look, there is some practicalities around artificial superintelligence and general intelligence, and we do need to be mindful around that. But I'm very much someone in the positive side of AI and the opportunities that presents. And look, talking about marketing more broadly, this is going to be the biggest change in the history of marketing, and it's going to change everything from the way that we create campaigns, that we do creative, to how we work around that, the job roles within that. The whole function of marketing over the next 12 to 3 years will be completely different, in my opinion. And teams are building for that era. The other thing which I think is the big change is marketing historically has all been about people. Right?
Yeah.
And I gave an internal presentation not so long ago about the differences of Gen Z, right? How their attitudes to sport is different, how they buy differently, how they behave. that's a big change to how millennials and boomers and B2B, but we're actually about to enter an era where potentially the buyer isn't human.
Oh my God,
right?
yes.
The buyer is an agent, the
yeah.
buyer is an AI.
Yeah.
So we're moving into a potential world where you may be using AI to sell to AI.
Yeah.
And we talked about emotion a little bit earlier on as the main difference between B2C, B2B. I mean, this is removing all emotion, right? There is no emotion in AI at the moment. Terminator 2 taught us that, and that's a good thing, right? But when it comes to the role of marketing and emotion, when you're dealing with agents potentially marketing to agents, that is a complete game changer. So, you know, clients need to understand how to structure their marketing organizations, need to know where they're spending money. The agencies that are servicing them, they're going to have to work out what role and function that they play in this new dawn. And that's even before you get into things such as AEO, which is how people are being discovered, and the role that, you know, your ChatGPTs, your Geminis, your Claudes are playing in the discovery of products and services. So in every component way, operationally, creative, it's going to have a really profound impact. And you know, one thing I'd say to any marketeer is don't try and fight it, embrace it. You have to.
Yeah, we have to, absolutely.
You have to.
And we're going to have to accept there's going to be a lot of trial and error because there's no handbook on it yet.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's, you know, I think setting out your key transformation strategy and being clear on the fact that you don't know necessarily what the answers are going to be is okay. But yeah, it's a very dynamic, fluid change, right? And who knows in 12 months' time what AI is going to be able to do. It's insane.
It's already advanced so much in just a year or a little over a year. So we'll have to keep an eye. So in your career, you've worked on so many cool campaigns at Sportradar, in your agency days as it was B2C, I'm going to imagine even cooler campaigns. Is there one particular campaign or activation that you worked on that you're particularly proud of?
There was a campaign that I worked on for Stella Artois many years ago called Love Your Local. And that was it was when the local pub was really starting to struggle, and the situation isn't much better these days. And obviously that was a really important channel for Stella and the company. And we basically did this nationwide campaign to find the best local. We actually worked with the actor Jason Fleming, who owned, from Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, he owns a pub down in South London. We did the launch there, and it was a really good nationwide campaign created for really celebrating the local, and that's one of my favourite campaigns I think I've worked on. Not a campaign, I spent a month in Ibiza when I was working on Corona.
Oh, how cool is that?
The campaign wasn't that great, but I tell you what, that was a good experience.
I love that.
But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky to work on different brands in different categories. I think some of my most fun memories are actually working in alcohol marketing, which I think actually is probably the closest to the betting and gaming industry in terms of the categories.
Equally controversial and stigmatized.
And equally fun, Mariya, equally fun.
Absolutely equally fun. I always say this about the gaming industry, that people that are not in it, they don't understand it. It's just genuinely, it's fun. It's entertainment. It's not all bad.
No, absolutely.
Right, I only got a couple more questions left, and the next one is a bit of a fun question, and also again, it will be a fun fact about you. So I only learned this somehow last year, which I'm not sure why I found out last year when I've known you for much longer. But outside of work, you and the lovely Mrs. Azor are running a very successful Instagram page, which is all about food.
That's right.
Can you tell us more about that, and where did that passion come from?
Well, the first and most important thing to say is this is not my baby, it is Mrs. Azor.
You're just helping.
Mika's baby, and it all really started during COVID and lockdown. So she's always been a passionate about food, and she has a great passion for Middle Eastern food and Kurdish cuisine. And she started basically sharing recipes and translating them into multiple languages and showing the how to make it, how to cook. And it just really exploded during the COVID era, and got loads of sort of followers and lots of collaborations around it.
It's over 20K now.
Yes.
I'm following closely.
I'm glad. I hope you're doing some of the
Absolutely.
recipes. But we started Mika started just doing recipes and doing all the cooking. But the thing is, I was saying to her, you're doing all this work, you've got all these followers, you're not really getting a lot of benefit from it. And I'm a very passionate foodie. I do like cooking, but also like eating out just as much. And I was like, well, why don't we start weaving in some restaurant reviews and places around it, as well as just the dishes? And I said, look, I'll happily get involved, and I would like contributing and writing some of the reviews around it. And so that's where we started going into slightly different new direction, and starting now to get invited to go to nice restaurants and review them, and that real is passion for food is something we both love. And so if you are a foodie or you like it, it's Foodie Therapy Official on Instagram, and good inspiration for recipes and hopefully some interesting places to eat as well.
I found some good recommendations on there. Well, if someone's coming to London for like a day, where would you recommend they go? What restaurant?
I mean, we're blessed. It depends what sort of cuisine. Let me tell you, the restaurant that I am loving at the moment is one in Shoreditch called Bistro Freddy.
Okay.
And actually, I went there.
That's not far then.
It's really not far from your offices, but. Mika took me there for my birthday in the beginning of this year, and I think within the next 6 months I went back 3 times. And it's just a great, wonderful restaurant. It's in the style of a French bistro, but it's like British food and produce with a French lens. And really, really enjoying that restaurant at the moment. So Bistro Freddy is probably my recommendation for now.
I see, but as you say, we're so blessed in London.
We are.
There's everything, cuisine from all over the world, amazing places, 5-star places.
The thing which I always say about London, which I think people don't get when it comes to food, I think what we have is a load of quite reasonably priced, really good places to eat. And I think we spend a lot of time in New York through work, and I think that's one of the big differences between New York and London when we get there, is you don't have those really good mid-priced food options. I think especially East London, Soho, there's so many great places to experience around there.
Right, final question. What would you say is your best bet, figurative, in your career or in your life? Or both?
Well, let me start for my best bet of my life was betting and persuading my now wife to go on a date with me. So I think that was the best bet. Thankfully, that's my best marketing, my best return on investment. The best campaign I've ever done was to get Mrs. Azor to go on a date with me and ultimately become my wife. So that's, without Mika, without my wife, my career and everything else would never have really happened or had the opportunity to do that. In terms of my career and the bet, I mean, I think the bet I made was leaving agency land. Yeah. I was there for almost 2 decades and never worked on anything else but agencies and loads of different types of brands and predominantly consumer marketing, and the opportunity to come up and become a client, that was a bit of a gamble. And I never forget, I phoned my old client, friend as well, who was my Corona client before I joined Sportradar, and I said, look, I'm thinking of making the move client side, and he just laughed at me and said, surprised it's taking you too long, you are going to be perfect for this, go definitely do it. And I did listen to him and I took the chance, and 7.5 years coming on to 8, I'm very happy I took that chance. It's been an incredible ride at Sportradar over those 7 years, and the company and the opportunities. And adapting.
And that ride's not over yet.
It is we're very much at the dawn, I think, of a really exciting era around technology has really been at the heart of the Sportradar story for this is our 25th year this year. But I think now with the emergence of AI, I think one of
really good opportunity.
Really good. I mean, one of Carson's favourite quotes and lines is "innovate or die," and I think that philosophy is so true in Sportradar. Yeah. And I think with a lot of our clients and partners also feel the same way, that this is an era now for the brave. And I think for Sportradar, we really are putting AI right into the heart not only of our products and services but our entire organisation, and we're really excited about the future and what this is going to create.
Amazing. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining me. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. We'll definitely repeat Maybe next year, because you have so many interesting stories, so much advice to give. So honestly, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Mariya. It's been great to have a stroll in sunny London with you today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching my conversation with Adam. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our future episodes.